right, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is 11:02 and it is May 8th, 2025. This is the monthly board meeting of the Strategic HFC Board of Directors, and I just want to make a quick remark that this week is also Public Service Recognition Week. And I'm thankful for all of you who decided to answer the call to public service, but I especially want to call out my colleagues here who are doing their service as volunteers. And it's not lost on us that means you're putting aside other matters, and just want to personally thank each and every one of you. So with that, could we have a roll call and confirmation of quorum? Ms. Honeycutt.
President Jan Winning.
Present.
First Vice President Keisha Prince.
Here.
Second Vice President Ashley Huddleston.
Present.
Director Julio Gonzalez Altamirano.
Present.
Director Philippe Becker. Director Carrie Dorman.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. The directors will note that there is an item labeled number 2 for administrative purposes. The oath of office is not going to take place today. We don't yet have an appointee for our tenant representative. Hope to get more information on that very soon. So we'll move on to item 3, the public forum and citizen communication. Ms. Honeycutt, have we got anyone signed up to provide communication today?
As of right now, no, let me check.
Thank you.
There is one. Kevin said her name is Sol Fixie.
Excellent. Is there a way to get her acknowledged?
Former planning commissioner for Councilmember Fuentes.
For which?
Councilmember Fuentes.
Oh,
Stand for
really?
grab.
The name again?
Solvage practice.
Okay. Is this something you're aware of
No.
coming to us today?
No.
Would any of you care to, I'm a little claustrophobic, just open one of those shades so I can see light? Thank you so much. I just love that we have a window. Excellent.
This is the window to the inside.
I understand. I'm seeing
It
trees
is natural.
and sunshine.
It is natural light.
It's a wonderful advantage of this room. Thank you so much for building this out. It's great.
Hi all, good morning. Should I be speaking now?
Could you please introduce yourself, and then it's our practice that we have 3 minutes available for those who wish to comment on the agenda or in any way address the board of directors. So yes, if we'll try to remind you as time's running out, but we'd love an introduction.
Great, thank you so much. Hi, good morning, y'all. My name is Solveig Rosa Praxis. I am a former planning commissioner. I go by Sol. Many people in the community know me that way. But yes, I'm so grateful to be here with you all this morning. I know that what the work you do is visionary in terms of addressing our affordable housing crisis in a way that centers residents. It feels to me somewhat fortuitous that I'm talking to you this morning because years ago, after Winter Storm Uri, my colleague and myself went to door knock at Rosemont, and that was some of the work that started the Neighbors at Rosemont Tenants Association, and I met Keisha Prince, in those early days, door knocking with her and other residents. So thank you for the work you all do. Thank you for standing up for the Rosemont residents. And I was so excited to hear about the recent compensation that folks got after a long, long battle. So thank you for your work doing that. But what I'm here to talk to you all about this morning is another case of displacement of low-income residents, this time at a property that is naturally occurring or privately owned affordable housing, actually in West Austin off of Far West Boulevard. You might have heard of Acacia Cliffs. The residents there, it's 290 units, and they've formed a tenants association. They'll be having a press conference later today, so you might hear about it on KUT or the Statesman or somewhere else in the coming days. But basically what's happening is the city is potentially moving forward with a rezoning that would open the door for the property to be demolished, and in its place would go a 90-foot building with very, very minimal affordable units, and none of which are comparable to the affordability levels of the existing property. So the reason that I'm coming to you all is that we have been working with an affordable developer who is trying to come up with a plan to either preserve this property or try to create some type of preservation strategy for the surrounding area, because the developer has indicated to us, or the developer's representative through Armbrust and Brown indicated at some point, and as have other council members, that they believe this may be the first of many apartment complexes in the far west area that will be demoed. And so, yes, this affordable developer we have been in conversation with. Some of you all may know him with Vecino Group. I don't want to speak too much for him, but I asked him if we should do any other community outreach to other housing finance corporations, the county, the city, et cetera, to look for collaboration and support. And he said that that would be greatly helpful. So that's all. That's what I'm bringing to you all today. If you all would be interested in having a meeting, potentially with Val from Vecino Group and the tenants association, to see if there's any points to collaborate on in the future, whether that's preserving Acacia Cliffs or trying to help with a preservation strategy for affordable housing in the surrounding area.
Thank you very much. And it's our practice that we don't respond directly to the comments unless it's related to an agenda item. However, if you would be able to send your contact information and just a summary of your request to Ms. Diana Gray, our Executive Director, and CC Alex Radke, our Real Estate Director, that would be much appreciated. I really thank you for bringing that to our attention. I am tracking it, and I think some other people, I'm getting nods from all the directors. So hopefully we'll follow up with you soon. Thank you so much. All right, with that testimony and commentary, there's nothing on this agenda that directly relates to that, so that will be put aside for today. However, we do have item 4, the director's report, up next, and that's, I'd like to recognize our Executive Director, Ms. Gray.
Thank you, President Wenig. So today we'll be going over calendar, forward calendar, and some reminders. A quick update on residences at Decker. Then Deputy Director David Dynoff will be providing an update on the legislative session. Director of Finance and Administration, Katie Adams, will give you the financial report, and Alex Radke, our Director of Real Estate, will be giving you an update on the implementation of our portfolio data management system. And so if we can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. So just as a reminder, today at 1:30, I'm looking for Anna to confirm that timing. We do have a couple of property tours. If you are interested in joining staff, we will be touring Cambridge Villas and Villages at Fiskville, which are 2 of our senior properties, one of which is actively being marketed right now, as you know. We have received feedback from the board that it might be favorable or preferable to board members to have tours on days that are not also board meetings. And so for June forward, be looking for a poll from staff about your general interest, and if you are interested and have appetite to join us, what times would typically work best for you. Our June board meeting, May also, we have been signaling this for the last couple of months, but we have confirmed a training date for the board. This will focus on housing finance. So we will be looking at tax credit finance, bond finance, and probably we'll talk a bit about the mixed income structure that we've been using as well. That will be May 29th at 11 a.m. So look for a calendar confirmation of that, and we will probably structure that as a committee meeting, which is noticed, so that if we have quorum, it is fine, but it will not be a regular board meeting. So we wouldn't need a full quorum of the board. I think just noting that in addition to regular board meetings, June 12th and July 10th, there is the Texas Association of Affordable Housing Providers Conference in late July. We have several staff attending that. Director Prince attended last year. It is a large annual conference always here in Austin, so it's local. If you are interested in attending, please reach out to Debbie and she'll work with you to A, answer any questions you have, and B, get you registered if needed. Couple of other reminders. One, you have at your seats copies of the guidelines that were provided to us from the Travis County and the Commissioners Court about onboarding new members, but also some requirements, ongoing requirements for board members, which include a request to meet with commissioners twice per year. President Wenig, did you want to say anything about this? Your request that we reshare this?
Oh, no, these are not new guidelines, but they are new to us in terms of who they apply to. So only Director Dorman is currently in the new freshman class that is. Yes, we use that word carefully. And so, give me feedback in specific and of course the county as to how that's going for you. It sounds to me like you've completed on time everything thus far.
So far, so good.
But I wanted the rest of the directors to also have a look at these guidelines because it tells us a little bit about what the county commissioners and Travis County staff expect in the way of training competencies for directors. And it's something I'm also hoping that they flag in their interviews with new folks, so it's not a shock to you all. And for any director who looks at that and sees a discrepancy between what they currently have in the way of trainings and wants to pursue that, please let me know or let our executive director know. And the staff, I understand, is also available to assist in scheduling the one-on-ones with the county commissioners because that can be a bit of a yeah, that. It could be an exertion. So thank you, staff, for helping make that a reality. And that's all I had on that.
Thank you. Then just another housekeeping reminder, you received an email within the last couple of months letting board members know that if you have technology needs for laptop, home monitor, etc., that would help you support your board service, we do have a modest package available to loan to board members. We have had a couple people take advantage of that, but want to remind tenured board members that is still available to you if you would like it. Reach out to Kevin if you have questions, or certainly to me or Debbie. Looking forward, I think just thinking about our June board meeting, starting in June, we have several meetings that are going to have pretty robust agendas. In June, we do anticipate bringing a construction standard policy back to the board, as was requested in a resolution in December. We will discuss the strategic outlook today, but do not plan on taking it up for a vote, and so hope that we would bring that back in June, along with our new sort of volume or production metric. Likely Cambridge Villas could come back to the board next month. We anticipate that what has historically been known as Frontier Valley, now known as Residences at Ruby, will come back for final documents. As I will share with you in a moment, we may have an NRP group come to update us on Residences at Decker, and then we have some other administrative items as well. So just know that we will be, I think we're moving into a period of a lot of work coming to fruition, which will mean that we have a lot of business at the board meetings. Next slide, please.
Quick thing.
Yes.
Is there, on the invitation for directors to attend, is there any place where folks can indicate whether they plan to attend remotely and what to do if their decision changes? We just had a little bit of a hustle this time, and we had the gracious efforts of Director Prince to thank for making quorum today. She had to find coverage at her work and did so in order to be here. But I'm wondering if there's a way when it first comes out as an invitation that we can kind of emphasize that need for notice. However you want to do that.
So I think we could do a couple of things, and we can talk about this offline. I think in Outlook, you can indicate whether you are attending in person or virtually, but we know that a lot of people may answer that months before the meeting comes. And so it may be most effective for us to just start having a protocol of, Monday before the meeting or whatever date you think works best. We send out a reminder and just ask people to kind of give us.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so directors, you are aware that of the Residences at Decker, which is one of our portfolio properties that was developed by and is managed by NRP Group in early April. We had understood, and Basta let us know they were contemplating the possibility of organizing at that site. Shortly after our presentation to the Travis County Commissioners Court on April 4th, we received notice from the tenants that they had, in fact, organized and provided us with a letter outlining their concerns, as well as a petition, which you have also received. When we last updated you, we were, I think, on the eve of attending the first meeting between the Tenants Association, supported by Basta, and the NRP Group. That occurred on Thursday, April 24th. I think generally a productive meeting. We weren't able to get through all of the items on the agenda in time, but we, subsequent to the meeting, had several meetings both with Basta and with NRP Group, both our property management arm and their government affairs and sort of external relations arm, because we want to make sure that they understand the context of what is happening at Decker, both in terms of our history and the sensitivity of this board and the court to issues around conditions for tenants. We were pleased that NRP gave us an opportunity to give some feedback into their intended response. We made some recommendations, which we have shared with you. And on the 6th, which was Tuesday, NRP did provide a written response to Basta. I should mention that also on April 30th, we wanted to make sure just that the Commissioners Court were not surprised by this, and so did communicate with them just a situational awareness. Largely, many of the things I am saying to you right now that we are actively engaged and will be following up. And so right now, I don't believe the meeting has been confirmed yet, but the date that has been floated for a follow-up meeting is May 23rd between us, NRP Group, and the tenants. And so, of course, staff will attend that. But we have also invited the NRP Group to our June board meeting to update the board on progress. Any questions there?
Directors, anybody wish? Yes, Director Dorman.
Thank you. And thank you for the report and the email this morning. That was very helpful. It looked to me from what I read, the agenda item that was not reached was to do with lease concerns. And so I'm assuming that'll be addressed at some point between now and May 23rd, or?
Is this on? Yes, so the idea is that the next meeting, which we expect at the end of the month, we'll be able to cover the rest of the agenda, which the lease violations item, I think, was probably the largest. Yeah.
And is there, from what you know of them, is there anything in those ongoing and upcoming discussions that we should think about when we look at our tenant protections item today? Did anything stand out to you? I don't mean to put you on the spot at all, just curious.
Since we didn't get to hear directly from the tenants kind of elaborating, I don't have any specific comment on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or clarification requests from the directors? And I just have a quick question for Executive Director Gray. What was the response of commissioners to being alerted about this situation at Decker? And is there any follow-up that we need to be doing with commissioners?
So two of the commissioners reached out, Commissioner Gomez and Commissioner Howard. Commissioner Howard just generally supportive, letting us know to let them know if there's anything that they can do. Commissioner Gomez did have some more specific questions about the nature of the concerns, which I then shared with her, both summarized and just sent, forwarded the letter from tenants to her. And I think the biggest sort of takeaway there was the understanding that, while we take this seriously, we are not talking about issues that are similar to Rosemont in terms of condition of units. It is more about ongoing management practices from the perspective of tenants. And so we let them know that, it was evolving, and we did not specify when we would get back to the court, but I would anticipate that post this meeting on the 23rd, we can update them again. I don't want to, flood their inboxes, but we have remain open to meeting with them.
That sounds like a great plan. And on behalf of the board, would you be notifying the board of the same content that you send to the commissioners then? So we're also
Sure.
updated in some kind of cadence?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the plan? Is that acceptable to directors? And yeah, we're in agreement. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, then we will turn to legislative update, which David will provide. David, please reintroduce yourself.
Yes, so David Dynoff, Deputy Director. If we could go to the legislative update slide, please. I don't see it on the screen. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So it has been a very active legislative session for HFCs and for the staff of Strategic HFC. So some things that have happened since you probably last received an update at the previous board meeting. And this is a big win, I think. The county HFC jurisdiction limitations have been removed from the latest versions of the community substitute bills for the HFC reform bills that we've seen. And so what that is that originally when these bills were introduced, they had said that county HFCs can only operate in the unincorporated areas of a county unless they get the permission of each municipality in which they seek to do deals in, which is a change of practice from how Chapter 394 had been previously. We had been advocating for that to be removed, and it looks like that has since been removed. So pleased with that. Those bills still have issues, which I'll go into in a moment, that we cannot be totally comfortable with the way they appear as they do today. Another update that is a good thing for the state of Texas is that a clean traveling HFC bill, HB 1585, that passed through the House with greater than a 2/3 vote. It is pending Senate action. So this is a bill that just outlaws these HFCs in other parts of the state that have been traveling outside of their jurisdiction, exposing some sort of loophole in Chapter 394 and doing deals, removing properties from the tax rolls, and of course their governance is not of the local jurisdiction in which they're operating. And so that has been problematic for many communities throughout the state. It is important to note that passed with 2/3 vote in the House, because if it does the same thing in the Senate, it has immediate effect. So otherwise, if it passes a simple majority and then signed by the governor, that it's effective September 1st, which we saw this with PFC reform 2 years ago. That allows for a big rush of closing deals in the summer of the year in which this change will happen. If it passes with 2/3 vote, it'll go in with immediate effect, so that would immediately stop any deals happening from traveling HFCs. This is relevant to our organization as well, as we're aware of some efforts by one of these traveling HFCs to be involved in either our current deals or other deals. And so we're pleased to see that bill is moving along. And so this one differs from what I call HFC reform bills, in that it is just it's a clean, it only deals with one issue to get that 2/3 vote. The HFC reform bills have much more in them that are, good, but also I think, could use some refinement to make sure that the tool is still useful for workforce and mixed income housing. The things that staff have kind of been doing over the legislative session, and particularly in the last 30 days. So we provided in-person testimony on Senate Bill 867 in front of the local government committee. So Jim and I went and provided that testimony. I know Diana and Jim had also previously provided testimony on the House side at the Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, I think it's called. We've also provided written testimony on various HFC and other just general housing related bills. I believe Kaylin has written some of that written testimony, so thank you for that. We've been, because of our testimony that we provided on Senate Bill 867, we've been connected with a senator on the local government committee who has been utilizing us as a resource on some of the amendments or changes that could be made to that bill. So we're thankful for that. And we also did get to meet with HB 21's author, Representative Gary Gates. We've just continued collaboration with the Texas Housers and other partners, and particularly want to give a shout out to Texas Housers. They've been of the groups that we could be working with in the legislative session. We seem to be most aligned with them. They've been a great partner in helping facilitate meetings and just help get certain policy priorities in front of the relevant senators and representatives. Our position on public benefit percentage has been agreed to in reform bills. What that means is in the HFC reform bills, they've been considering a new way of determining if there is actual affordability granted in a non-LIHTC, non-low-income housing tax credit deal. And that is by evaluating what the discount is of rents, rent restrictions versus market rents, that if that discount can equal 60% of the estimated abated taxable value, which may sound familiar because that is our terms in our workforce deals currently. We were doing that before these bills were even released to the public voluntarily. And we have been, in our sort of testing this in the market, we had come to find that there is statutorily we believe there would be benefit of that being at 50%. And so that seems to be what is coming in the newest versions, I think, of HB 21 and SB 867. There are additional things we need to look out for if there are income band targets, things like that, because we're unsure if the math works out by having both this public benefit percentage test on the discounted rents and also having, doing certain numbers of units at what, one income level and, putting that in statute. Ongoing sticking points that still remain unresolved that we have see as potentially problematic and making sure that the tool is still usable for workforce or mixed income deals is ongoing compliance and evaluation of the public benefit test. Originally, there was this need to audit to make sure that every year the 60%, which is now 50% public benefit test was being met. The main problem with that is that if it was not being met, you would lose the tax exemption completely, which is problematic when you are looking at it from an underwriting perspective. No one is going to underwrite 100% property tax exemption at the origination of the deal if there's this potential that at any year, due to market conditions, the property tax benefit could be lost. And so we had made some proposals about, if there's an ongoing test, the penalty needs to be reconsidered. Maybe you don't look at the public benefit test, but rather the rents that are agreed to at origination based on that original public benefit test. So that's still looming as an issue. And then there's also in some of the draft versions of these bills, there's retroactive application to existing deals. And so any prior mixed income workforce deal that's been agreed to and closed in the past would now be subject to this new law and have to come into compliance within a certain amount of time. We've seen, originally it was supposed to be within 2 years. I think now it's moved to 10 years, perhaps 15 years is a potential. But either way, that is something that we have probably disagreement on if that would allow the tool to, and, you know, if retroact, you know, prior deals that have been closed should, if it should apply to that. Also, I want to mention that just the fact that these HFC reform bills are out there, it has caused a chilling effect within the industry. The GSEs, so the government-sponsored entities, Fannie and Freddie, are wary of participating with the uncertainty looming. So they, you know, even though none of this has passed, it has already caused, you know, some inability to get financing for certain types of deals. We truly do not know if these bills go through, if the legislators will have made enough changes to some of these provisions to keep workforce and mixed income deals as workable, if this were to become law. So that is something just to put on your radar, that's a possibility. So some potential outcomes as we see it, not really in the game of making predictions on the Texas legislature, but it does seem like traveling HFCs will be killed with immediate effect. We have not really seen anything yet to the contrary, although it still needs to, you know, go through some process in the Senate. And it does seem that a HFC reform bill will pass in some shape or form. And, you know, the next time this group meets would be after the legislature happens. So we will know at the next board meeting, you know, what the outcome of this was. There's very limited time left in the legislature.
Turning now to directors for any questions, comments, clarifications. Real Estate Committee Chair is here. Director Altamirano.
50 is in 21, 50% pull.
It is in a committee substitute, as we understand. Have we actually seen it in writing?
Well, it's as we understand, it's an amendment to a committee substitute.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the committee substitute.
But
All right.
From the bill's author, we have heard.
yes,
Yep.
Oh, that's news.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you for that work.
Yeah.
I do think, I hope something will pass that's decent, because then we're done with this for quite a while, and we can build on top of that. So I hope our position is, let's get something on the books so that we resolve uncertainty. I've been relieved at some of the changes, and I'm really thankful for your participation in that. I think one implication, and this is the core of what I wanted to say to us, is if we were going to be putting more into the public benefit of the reduced rents of the overall ad valorem, because even though if 50 passes, we will probably want to be like 55 or 60. We want to stick to our values while making the deals happen. It is an argument for the county having an at-scale HFC, and so I think in some ways the hopeful passage of a decent bill is another argument in terms of our long-term vision of what we want to be able to give to our appointers in terms of this public enterprise in the next few years. And other than that, I'm just really grateful that when we started, this could have been really catastrophic, and now it's seeming like we're going to thread the needle of maybe ending up in a place where the enterprise we've been building is positioned to deal with some of the less constructive changes, because in particular because we keep our jurisdictional power. So thank you.
Other directors, any comments, clarification, questions? I also just want to really acknowledge the staff for their presence. It was felt, there were ripple effects. Got feedback from people at the Ledge about the testimony that was provided, the clarity, the relentlessness. And so I just want to give kudos to the staff on that. And this is extremely good news that we're at 50%. I did not have that last. Perhaps when that's formal, could we get that as a quick missive to the board, if that actually gets canonized in the final bill, and I know we're not going to be at a board meeting for a while, it's just an FYI.
When we have any bill that passes, we will share it.
Because TLO is so slow, y'all. It's just like,
It's painful.
it's a week later, I get the
We
little
very
email.
often, we hear there is a substitute and cannot always get our hands.
Of
A couple
course.
of notes.
I understand. One other thing, on the testimony under staff actions, number 2, written testimony provided on various HFC and housing-related bills. Can I just have a sense of what were the other bills of interest and what were the housing-related bills that you decided were worthy of a strategic position statement?
21 and 293.
293.
We unfortunately did not get to Senate Bill 38 or House Bill 32, which are the.
And the
eviction
content of
bills.
those is?
So 21, as you can probably imagine, was a comprehensive. 293 is a bill that requires state representative consent for LIHTC deals. So, in effect, state representatives' objection to a LIHTC deal could totally kill the application, whereas currently it's an evaluative criteria and is considered as part of a larger application. And so I think that, one, according to our fearless executive director, that's been tried before and created some issues for the system, both in the Capitol building and affordable housing development.
And that bill was left pending in committee on Tuesday, so we haven't heard an update since then.
Appreciate that.
According to the Texas Housers lobbyists, we do not anticipate that bill moving forward.
Excellent. That was my only questions and clarification. I know you had an add-on there.
Yes, thank you, sorry for interrupting. So I want to note that you have the handout in front of you, which gives you a bit more detail. We also, as has become our practice, we don't send this until right at the board meeting because literally these things change minute by minute, but we have emailed you at 11:05 this information with live links to the legislative trackers. I also want to acknowledge Jim, Kaylin, David, who have really done the heavy lifting on this. It has been difficult. I don't want to ruin the mood, but I do want to perhaps strike a note of caution, which is that while looks like we have avoided some of the most injurious language that was in these, and that 50%, we are also happy to see the 50% limit, which we had suggested. If the compliance issues are not resolved, it could really diminish our prospects over the next 2 years, because it may be that these workforce deals cannot get equity into them because there's just too much risk and too much uncertainty. That has been the piece that we have, at this point, struggled most to get movement on. So just know that, we're watching it, and we will let you know what happens. The other piece I think that I want to say, and maybe I should save this for next month, but is that, this is, as our currently assembled team, of course, our first session, and I just want to commend staff not only for their work on these specific pieces of legislation, but the relationships that they have been developing with our peers and at the Capitol as, I think, credible and high integrity team offering insight into policy and how it might affect the affordable housing space.
Thank you. Anything else from the directors about this item? Then appreciate those add-ons, and looking forward to hearing how this all comes out in the wash. All right.
Excellent. Then we will move on to our financial report. Director Adams.
Katie Adams, Director of Finance and Administration.
And our treasurer.
And Board Treasurer.
Welcome to the board.
Good morning. We have the financial report up on the screen for you. These are the highlights. The big News for March, which is the period we're currently reporting on, is that the sale of Silver Springs closed, and Strategic did receive over $7 million in revenue from that sale. We are very thrilled with this, of course, especially because it means that as of the end of March, we have earned all of the budgeted revenue that was scheduled for the year. Reason for that is that the sale of Silver Springs was not budgeted for 2025, so it is a windfall for us. I do want to note, as is outlined in your financial narrative, that without the sale of Silver Springs, we are lagging a little bit behind what we would hope to see in revenue. However, I do want to mention that, this is the first quarter for us, is the financial period that we're looking at. And last year we did see a heavier revenue in quarter four. So we are hoping that that levels out as we continue throughout the year. Next slide. Wanted to note briefly on our cash distribution. At the close of March, most of the revenue from that, all of the revenue from that Silver Springs sale was in our operating account. In early April, we did go ahead and transfer that over into our board designated housing production fund. So you will see when we report out next month, the housing production fund will be fully funded at that $15 million. That is our goal, and you will see these distributions change. But we are looking strong at the close of March with cash in our operating account as well as our operating reserve. We are over 36 months of operating cash. Any questions that I can answer? Any
Directors,
thoughts?
anything on the finances?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Katie. Our next report will be from Alex Radke on our portfolio data system.
Good morning, y'all. So Alex Radke, Director of Real Estate. I'm really excited to walk y'all through quite a few different updates, including, some monthly reporting back on how our portfolio was doing and performing in March. But I'm going to first start us off just talking high level about some of our portfolio management goals as an organization and specific to this year. And then excited to reveal to y'all our new portfolio tracking tool that we're working on implementing. And then we'll dive into what are the key monthly metrics we have chosen to start tracking on a monthly basis as we start getting into a reporting rhythm. We'll take a look at what those looked like for March, and then going to close out with some sort of future portfolio reporting steps. I just want to say that what I'm going to be the March data is not the full extensive reporting that we hope to have in place moving forward, but I just kind of want to give y'all a little peek at sort of what we're putting together. There's a lot of different kind of pieces at play that we cover. Next slide, please. So portfolio management. Shelly Lynn's our portfolio manager, unfortunately is not here today, but she came on in January, and I want to remind y'all I came on in October. When I came on in October, we did not have any portfolio management systems in place. The only regular reporting we were doing at the time was on occupancy, which for each board meeting, we had staff actually calling and emailing all of our individual properties, collecting monthly occupancy numbers, which is obviously a pretty time-intensive task. And so as we were putting together organizational goals at the end of last year, responsible portfolio management was one of the goals we landed on. We need to know what's going on in our portfolio. We need to be able to be responsible owners and public partners. And so that led my team, the real estate team, for our 2025 work plan to identify two slightly more specific kind of goals to support that organizational goal. One, obviously can't really manage things without knowing what we're managing and what's going on. So our first goal is to create portfolio tracking and reporting, just the basics. And then finally, to actually have some bigger picture systems and processes in place. And so we are currently working on a portfolio management plan. I think it's a product that's going to take us all of this year and probably a little bit into next year to fully build out and have a really robust plan. We're working on our risk rating system, which we have kind of previewed the initial risk rating system earlier this year, and we'll be coming back to y'all with a more refined risk rating system in July. And so lots of different elements going into this, but just really exciting to share some of the progress we're making so far. Next slide. So, like I said, first thing is we need to be able to track data. And so we did some research into some different tools. We have partnerships with a number of different development partners who use different property management companies, who have different property management software. So we're really excited to find Lobby CRE, which is a platform that actually is able to integrate pretty much all of the mainstream property management softwares into its platform. We signed a contract with them in mid-March, and so have had ongoing work with them to kind of get all the baseline documentation on our partnerships loaded into their system, connecting them with all of our property managers, troubleshooting, as some different kind of connections, integration pieces have come up. Shelly's not here, but I do want to give her a huge kudos because it's been a pretty heavy lift to get 17 different properties, attempt to get 17 different properties into this platform. But we've made some really significant progress. And this means that once things are fully set up, we'll be able to automatically access the data that's already in those property managers' systems without having to bother them. Just to see that, we can refresh and we can pull reports based not only obviously on the individual property, but also the system allows us to set up some automatic reporting that looks out across our portfolio at different kind of metrics. So super exciting tool. Next slide, please.
Was there anything on that slide, it's too small to read, that you want to point out?
I just wanted to give you all a visual. That's just a picture of one of their dashboards. Okay. If you're curious kind of what the interface looks like.
Okay.
So we have read access to their real page data. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So nice.
Which we as a owner are entitled to access to.
Yeah.
Yes, we have
That's
been.
a text of a document. Getting information.
We're concerned about time, just checking.
Yes, go for it.
You're good.
Sorry.
Yeah, just to clarify, we're pretty much on time, but when there are things that aren't clear for us to ingest, I just wanted you to highlight or repeat. So that's a big one, that there's actual data flow coming to us directly and you're chewing on it. Yeah.
Super exciting. I'm going to go somewhat quickly through these items because, again, I just want to remind y'all, we will be in future months building on what I'm about to share with y'all and have kind of the full reporting. But obviously feel free to ask any questions or follow up after the meeting.
Thank you.
For monthly tracking, we have honed in on 5 key metrics that we feel will help us with tracking performance and potentially flagging issues on properties on a monthly basis. That includes occupancy, turnover rate, which is to say how many households moved out compared to how many households there are or units there are in a property. Aged receivables, which is really looking at how much uncollected rent is on the books, and that could point to a potential property management issue, or it could point to tenants being strained for paying rent. So there's a couple things that helps us potentially identify. And then looking at budget variance. Is the property financially performing the way we thought it would? And if not, obviously digging in to understand why. Finally, operating costs per unit. We need to make sure our units are being managed efficiently, but also that they are being properly maintained. And so we wouldn't want to see that number very high or very low, hopefully. Next slide, please. Before I get into the March data, there's just two notes. One is that I am not going to be sharing the budget variance metric. As we've loaded data into Lobby, we realized that some of our property management companies are calculating this number differently. And it's being tagged as kind of the same thing. And so we're trying to work with Lobby and property management to make sure that we're kind of able to compare apples to apples on that one. And then finally, there are 5 properties that are not included in this. 3 are our PEDCOR partnerships. PEDCOR uses a proprietary property management software that only they know about, and that Lobby CRE said we're not familiar with this. We are trying to figure out a manual way to get their information uploaded so that we can still create full portfolio reports. And then finally, our 2 RISE partnerships have been non-responsive to our request to integrate with Lobby. Next slide, please. So first metric, looking at occupancy, our overall average occupancy did drop to 81.2% in March, compared to 82% in February and 82.8% in January. This is somewhat in line, though, with what we expected and what's going on with the greater market, as there continues to be the delivery of hundreds of new units each month, and we expect that this trend might continue through the end of the year. Next slide, please. When we look at operating cost per unit, and this is done on a monthly basis, in the future, again, once we get into full reporting, we'll hopefully be able to show this on the monthly, but also really more on the yearly basis, which is what folks are usually used to looking at operating costs on. But here you'll see kind of the range in cost that we were seeing, along with sort of a benchmark average national cost. I just want to point out that Silver Springs was the highest operating cost per unit in March, but we do think that was tied to the fact that, as a reminder, we closed on restructuring our partnership at Silver Springs in March, and as part of the plan with the new partnership was investing in some remodeling and rehab on the property to kind of spiffy it up. It's a bit of an older property, and so I think you're seeing some of those costs reflected there. Next slide, please. Here we're looking at delinquency, which is again sort of a measure of unpaid rent that's on the books for properties. Most of our properties are under 70,000. The property that is not even on the chart, to make sure the chart was somewhat legible, but now it looks a little too small from this distance to read, so apologies on that, is Silver Springs, which was a huge outlier with over 400,000 in delinquent rent on its books. We do, again, think this might have been due to the restructuring of the partnership. Y'all might recall Silver Springs had a very extended timeline as we were trying to get it to close. And so property management was really under a lot of strain to keep people in units because occupancy mattered a lot in trying to get to close. And so we think, and you'll see this reflected again when we get to the turnover chart, that there were folks that were just perhaps staying on the property to keep occupancy up, but we're not paying rent. This is something that we're planning to work on with our partners and just make sure that this is perhaps an aberration, again, due to kind of the timing with the closing and restructuring, and not something that we would see long-term for the property. Next slide, please. So on turnover rate, the good news here is the sort of target that we'd like to see is a 4 to 5% turnover rate per month, and most of our properties are below 5%. We do have some that are well above that, specifically residences at Decker and Silver Springs. I've already shared with y'all kind of what we think happened with Silver Springs with kind of that long delayed close, and then the property manager trying to keep occupancy numbers up. And then on Decker, we've already talked a little bit about some of the tenant complaints at Decker that we're hoping with the kind of start of collaboration this past month between NRP and the Tenants Association, that hopefully we'll see some improvement there. Next slide, please. So that was our final key metric, and again, keeping timing in mind, I don't know if there's any questions y'all have before I move into my final slide.
Directors, any questions, clarifications were you able to? Understand. Yeah, thank you so much. The charts are helpful. They're a little small, but yeah, thanks for thanks for summarizing them for me. I'll personally thank you for that. Yeah, no, you can go forward.
So just want to close out with kind of what we're hoping for next steps with portfolio reporting. We do believe that Lobby CRE will have everything pretty much fully integrated by the end of this month, with that caveat of those 5 properties, the PEDCOR ones where we're trying to figure out a good workaround, and then still kind of needing to determine how we address the 2 RISE properties. That should mean for future monthly board meetings, you will be receiving the detailed monthly portfolio data that we get to pull from Lobby in your board book in advance. So hopefully the charts will be nicely sized. That is our goal. And then I had mentioned this earlier, but in July we will come back with a full mid-year portfolio report, looking back, not just monthly, bigger report, and an updated risk.
Are you crying?
I am
I think that's a collective cry for those of us who
You don't know. You don't know.
you have no
You
idea.
don't know. This is pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a massive shift. Much appreciated, and we'll be looking forward to July. And yeah, it is comical, but on the other hand, it's really notable how quickly you've ramped up to keep the board fully informed and to look at the things that need flagging early on and to be monitoring those measures. It's just an enormous turnaround. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
With that, President Wenig, the director's report is concluded.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Directors, we're moving on then to item 5, which is our consent agenda containing 4 routine items previously discussed and posted. Starting right off with, does anyone wish to remove any of these items from this consent agenda as posted? Then I'll read through them very quickly. We have item A, approval of minutes from April 10th. Item B, resolution SHFC 2025-13, considering taking action to approve a time, attendance, and remote work policy that actually supersedes and edits an existing policy that was put before the board previously. Item C, resolution number SHFC 2025-14, to consider and take action to approve a revised employee benefits policy. Same situation there. This supersedes and replaces the policy we previously adopted as a board and is minor edits. Item 4 is resolution number SHFC 2025-15, to consider and take action to approve a revised mobile phone policy. Same situation here. We previously approved the policy and this one has simply been updated. So again, the chair asks if there are any objections to this consent agenda. Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Altamirano, and with no objections, that's a unanimous pass of that consent agenda. We're now proceeding to item 6, which is sort of the kernel of this week's director requests for discussion items, and we have 2 discussion items there. I'm going to again ask that our Madam Executive Director, Ms. Gray, update us on the Tenants' Bill of Rights, the progress towards that item that was requested by the board some time ago. I don't have the date on when we requested it, but thank you for bringing it back.
Yes, absolutely. Directors, today, Director of Planning and External Affairs, Jim Ward, will be briefing you on an update on the resolution that you passed, if I am not mistaken, in December of 2024, asking us to revisit the Tenants' Bill of Rights that the Commissioners Court asked Strategic to implement in October of 2021. And we are looking at this, I think Jim will explain, both in the frame of a tenant's Bill of Rights and then just more broadly as tenant protections. So in that resolution in December, you asked for policy recommendations and an implementation plan by December of this year, but asked us to update you by June. We are doing that a bit early so as to provide a little more space in next month's agenda for pressing items. With that, I will hand it over to Jim.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. I suppose we are now into the afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Jim Ward. I'm the Director of Planning and External Affairs. You may, I think I get most recognition from the legislative stuff, but this is actually what brought me to Strategic, so I'm really excited to talk about tenant rights. So can you move to the next slide, Kevin? Thank you. So just kind of real quick, what I'm hoping to accomplish with this update today. I'd like to give some context to the resolution itself, both the 2024 Strategic Board Resolution and also the 2021 Commissioners Court Resolution, and communicate kind of the scope of our process thus far, and how we have kind of gone about determining our course of action. I'd like to also kind of talk a little bit about what we've observed as part of this review, just general observations for the board's consideration and understanding, and then as well clarify a path forward for Strategic to adopt a tenant Bill of Rights. And so with that, next slide. So I think one of the I think really foundational pieces of this is the historical context. I know I feel kind of silly talking to the bulk of the directors about historical context, but I think it is helpful in terms of framing the discussion. So in 2021, the Travis County Commissioners Court directed Strategic at that time under the control of the Travis County Housing Authority to develop a tenant Bill of Rights that incorporates the City of Austin's RHDA, or I believe that stands for Rental Housing Demonstration?
Development Assistance.
Assistance, thank you. Lease addendum, which is the tool that the city uses to enforce their tenant protections. That initial directive focused mostly on the conditions at Rosemont, in that it focused heavily on habitability, things like basic right to repair, freedom from harassment and discrimination, retaliation for organizing, things like that. And at that time, the county staff on behalf of Strategic did some initial analysis on what it would take to implement that resolution. And then in 2023, fast forward when Strategic, again, not in its current iteration, updated its workforce deal terms to include incentivization of the RHDA lease addendum, and that was kind of the work that happened in 2023. In 2024, the board reaffirmed its commitment to the original court resolution and asked staff to evaluate and prepare the implementation plan for a comprehensive tenant Bill of Rights. I think that part is really important. And the language from the resolution says a comprehensive tenant Bill of Rights that is complementary to the corporation's other tenant well-being initiatives. Importantly, that resolution required or reiterated the need to incorporate the RHDA lease addendum from the 2021 resolution and the provisions therein. And now, of course, today we're providing you this update on where we are at with our current iteration of the tenant protections that we're envisioning. And then in December, we'll come back to you with, actually no later than December, we will come back to you with a full tenant Bill of Rights and implementation plan, et cetera. I think there are a few things, obviously, that are not on this slide, which I think are important to this discussion. In addition to what's up here, the board organizationally changed its bylaws to create tenant seats on the board. There was a sale of Rosemont. There was a dissolution of the interlocal agreement between HATC. There was the launch of RTIP, the recent tenant organizing, and upcoming UT Law report on the conditions locally as it relates to the community of affordable housing development, highlighting the gaps in the industry. I think taken together, the time is right for this discussion and for our focus on tenant protections. Next slide, Kevin. So the scope of the work that David and I have taken on is essentially what the board resolution has requested, right? Develop or determine how to implement a tenant bill of rights that incorporates the RHDA lease addendum. And so again, to reiterate, the December resolution directing staff to develop a comprehensive tenant bill of rights. And so when we initially looked at the original court resolution, it became apparent that it focused again heavily kind of on those core components that kind of prompted the situation. And as previously mentioned, the addendum itself, or the lease addendum itself as the primary tool for the city, did address the concerns, I think, at Rosemont, but will not alone address tenant rights. And so we approach this with kind of conceptually, what is the distinction between a Bill of Rights and tenant protection policies, and what might a comprehensive tenant Bill of Rights look like for strategic? I think additionally, one of the things that we considered is how that lease addendum would support a comprehensive Bill of Rights, and whether or not there would be any other tools needed or expansions to the RHGA lease addendum, and I think the original or the 2024 resolution alludes to that, right? Like there are some considerations made for when it would be appropriate to modify or truncate provisions of the RHDA lease addendum. I think it's also important here to frame what is not in scope for this discussion. So we recognize that there are a host of things kind of in the environment that are adjacent to tenant protections, including, things like asset management approaches, third-party inspections of properties, compliance testing, tenant satisfaction surveys. That is not the scope of what we have been looking at for the purposes of the evaluation thus far. It may be that some of those activities ultimately support tenant protection policies, but are in and of themselves not tenant protections. Next slide, Kevin. So, and I apologize in advance, Director Warnig, if this slide is, the text is small.
I can see it all.
Okay.
You are so kind.
I was taking notes here. I need to make my text bigger next time.
And besides, it's in our books.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think, again, conceptually, it's important to understand how we are looking at this. So when we think about a tenant bill of rights, what we're talking about are essentially the principles that we communicate to the public that tenants can expect. They communicate our core beliefs and values and are generally kind of broadly worded and not very specific. The policies or tenant protection policies are the tools that we use to implement those rights. So that could include things like the lease addendum. It could include our regulatory agreements and workforce deals, land use restriction agreements, contracts, or other tools. And then together, tenant protection policies and tenant bill of rights or in summation turn into tenant protections. And so as we're looking through the materials that are available to us kind of in the market and globally, that was something that kind of came up to us, I think, early on, in that those terms are generally conflated, right? Like when someone says tenant bill of rights, they could be talking about a specific policy that or lease addendum that implements kind of this concept of rights, but not necessarily a statement of the rights themselves. And so I think an example of this is something that's very common and that we found and was in the original court resolution was the right to safe, sanitary, and stable housing. I think we can all generally agree that habitability should be a universal right of anyone living in the United States. And so a tenant protection policy might, for example, mandate that landlords address specific repairs within a specific period of time in order to maintain habitability, or that there's some proactive action taken on a regular basis, whether that be through asset management or some other approach to support that right. And so, again, this is kind of where that gets a little blurry. Asset management practices could be considered, in this instance, a tenant protection policy, but only when they're designed with that end goal in mind. And so, with that said, the Tenant Bill of Rights, as we've conceptualized it, is kind of the framework or conceptual framework for our policy positions, right? It will not replace policy. It underpins it, and things like, for example, enacting eviction safe harbors or capping late fees may move us closer to a right against unjust eviction, but are themselves not tenant rights. You really cannot have one without the other. Next slide, Kevin. So with our review, you can see on this slide, maybe a little small, but
We're good.
in our review, we looked at a variety of materials that are listed out, not limited to what you see on your screen. That included, again, the original 2021 Commissioners Court resolution, the 2024 court resolution. We did a line item review of the RHDA lease addendum. We reviewed also the policy recommendations that were made by the University of Texas Law Clinic to this body last month. We looked also at existing materials, some of that have been around quite a while, in the HUD tenant rights and responsibilities that applies specifically to households living in federally assisted housing. We also looked at the NLIHC National Tenant Bill of Rights, which I will come back to. We looked at the
NLIHC stand.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. The National Low Income Housing Coalition, and also this. We'll come back to that specific document. But thank you. And in addition, we looked at the Texas QAP, or Texas Qualified Allocation Plan, which governs how the state administers the low-income housing tax credit program statewide, and the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs tenant rights and responsibilities associated with the LIHTC program. We looked also at the proposed legislation that has been getting a lot of attention this year in Senate Bill 38, which has kind of been categorized as an eviction bill. I will save the modifiers for that, but it would significantly alter the way evictions are carried out in the state of Texas. And has some traction. Additionally, House Bill 21 and Senate Bill 867 contain some tenant protections, generally limited to source of income, basic eviction protections, freedom from harassment, that sort of thing. And so we, as I mentioned, did an abbreviated review of the RHDA list addendum, where we looked at each provision within that document and what could be adopted kind of as is, as a tenant protection policy or a tool to enact a tenant protection policy. We revisited Strategic's prior work that was done, or the SHFC prior work done prior to the current iteration of Strategic. and spoke with fellow housing practitioners in Travis County and policymakers working to implement tenant protection
Jim, just for
legislation.
clarity for mine and the board's,
Yes.
the last item, is
Yes.
that Cynthia Bast's review?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So can
Yes.
you just refresh the board's memory on who she is and what she did for?
Sure, yeah, to the extent that I can piece it together, Cynthia worked with the prior iteration of strategic after the 2021 original court resolution and proposed some alternative tenant protections, and that is about where the documentation stops for me. I don't have a trail of where that went or ended up, but there was work done by the prior leadership to evaluate specifically the RHDA lease addendum and what a response to the tenant to the court resolution might look like. I think when going back to our review, the most compelling document I think in our review was the National Low Income Housing Coalition Tenant Bill of Rights. It is credited to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, but it is really a joint venture between NLIHC, the National Housing Law Project, and the Tenant Union Federation, which is comprised of local tenant organizing groups from around the United States. And the Tenant Federation, I think, draws heavily on the work of the Kansas City Tenant Union, which in my kind of review jumped out to me to be influential in the final Tenant Bill of Rights that NLIHC implements. And so I think credit is definite. While NLIHC gets the credit for the document, I think credit really should be with the folks that that kind of brought the core tenets to their attention. And so next slide, please. Great, thanks. So we, as part of this review, wanted to kind of see how things stacked up to one another. I previously mentioned that, you know, things get conflated and when we're talking about tenant protections, tenant rights, tenant policies, and so there really wasn't a ton of comprehensive reference materials, with the exception of the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And so essentially what we did was looked at the National Low Income Housing Coalition and then compared all of the other kind of contributing documents that are in our sphere to that. And so you can see that for the National Low Income Housing Coalition, there are 7 core tenant rights. Those are, and we'll dig into them in a little bit of the next slide. But fair application processes, fair lease terms, freedom from discrimination and harassment, habitability standards, clear and reasonable rents and costs, tenant protections for tenant organizing, and also the I think more importantly in 2025, or not more importantly, but equally importantly, the freedom or right against unjust evictions. So this slide and this chart is not a one-to-one mapping. For example, there may be a provision in the RHDA lease addendum that does get at habitability, and in fact that there is, right? There is a provision in the RHDA lease addendum that requires landlords to address specific hazardous conditions within a unit, but is not an entire habitability focused provision of the lease addendum. And so we kind of approached this by looking at each of the documents that we had and kind of where did they focus their energy. And so you can see the RHDA lease addendum in our estimation focuses on kind of the issues around Rosemont, right? Like basic fair application processes, fair lease terms, avoidance of predatory lease terms, the protection of tenants' rights to organize, and then some basic eviction mitigations. UT Law similarly focused on the lease as the vehicle that landlords use to either empower or oppress tenants, and the need for clear, reasonable rents and costs. So again, this is somewhat different in that the UT Law Clinic, without drawing specific to strategic, you need to develop a policy, kind of came to us and said, hey, the community does not have a standard by which we are assessing late fees, or how we're calculating rents. And so I think it was clear that was their focus was on equitable, an equitable approach to rent and costs. And so in the internal review of the documents, again, that we could find from the prior leadership, those documents seem to focus more on freedom from discrimination and harassment, habitability, protecting tenant rights to organize. But again, none of them are comprehensive in the way that the National Low Income Housing Coalition is. Next slide, Kevin. So I mentioned the NLIHC as Tenant Bill of Rights has 7 pillars. Those are obviously truncated for the purposes of this discussion, but the right to a fair application, so they believe that there should be at cost or no cost application fees, the right to a fair lease term, so again, no predatory or deceptive lease terms, and so on and so forth. I think one of the things that is important to recognize about the NLIHC Tenant Bill of Rights is that many of the provisions, not all, but some, and in fact probably the majority depending on the pillar, would require external influence in that they may not be enforceable by state law, but there are things that we could take from that Tenant Bill of Rights and incorporate into our tenant protection policies. And so I think the thing for David and I in our review is that, again, this represents kind of the most comprehensive approach to this concept of a tenant bill of rights. So we can actually move to the next slide, Kevin, and talk about what we observed. So I've kind of alluded to already what we've observed in this discussion, that the RHDA lease addendum covers some but not all aspects of a comprehensive Tenant Bill of Rights, and while it works for the city of Austin, Strategic would need to explore additional tools like our regulatory agreements, our partnership documents, and other tools to explore how we would operationalize a Tenant Bill of Rights. I know there's been some talk about the Housing Production Fund. For example, if we start offering soft second loans to developers, is there a way to leverage that Housing Production Fund to get some of the tenant protections that we're looking for? I think tenant protections are not limited to lease documents. Many are, I think, again, conceptually, what we are hoping to communicate to the community with our Tenant Bill of Rights is where we stand in terms of tenant experience and tenant protections. What we identified in our review is that I think generally because tenant protections are, I will say, reactionary. I don't know that they're always that way. In response to a specific condition, many of the offerings in the market that we could find were either market-based or fragmented, did not cover the full scope of tenant protections. And I think I feel like I'm kind of preaching to the choir in terms of a holistic approach that is needed. And so in other words, the RHDA lease addendum, while emphasized in the initial court resolution, again, I think you've asked us to implement the RHDA lease addendum, and I think what we're saying is that the RHDA lease addendum is good. It does not go far enough. And so looking forward to the work ahead of us, we do have a number of questions that remain. Will you next slide for me, Kevin? Thanks. What the 89th session has for strategic or for the scope of tenant protections, I think remains to be seen. We can anticipate there will be some change to the landscape of tenant protections in the state of Texas, and how that will impact strategic, I think is something that we will know better in the next month or so. I think there are questions around, with tenant protections, how do we prioritize our time? How do we prioritize our efforts? Are there some tenant protections that are more valuable to the organization than others that we would prioritize to approach first? And how do we message these changes to our stakeholders? We have as we have developed kind of our relationships at the Texas Legislature, a lot of those relationships go beyond that building and have developed some closer relationships, I think, with groups like BOSTA and the UT Law Clinic and our peers. And so how do we, again, communicate our priorities, but make sure that the community is, to the extent possible, able to stay up to breast on what we're doing and come along. And then what monitoring or enforcement structure is required? I think that's the big question, right? Like, you can have all the policies in the world. How do we ensure that they are having their intended effect? There's some argument for, the policy itself adding some benefit, but if it's not enforceable or able to be enforced, what will the market bear? And then I think how we measure success is a question that is outstanding for staff. What do we want to achieve at the end of this process? Do we want a document, right? I don't anticipate that we do want just a document that goes up on a shelf or is included in a partnership agreement. How will we know we're successful? And so if you could advance to the next slide, Kevin. Thanks. So there are a number of things ahead of us. So today, of course, in the last several months, David and I have been researching the existing models, answering some fundamental research questions. We anticipate that there will be some changes to the landscape coming in June that will necessitate us potentially incorporating those into our approach. And kind of opening the door for our stakeholder engagement, which we envision to be from July to October, where we are engaging groups like BOSTA, engaging groups like the UT Law Clinic, potentially having them to come to the HFC Peer Roundtable that we're facilitating, engaging groups like Housing Works Austin, who's doing some interesting work with the city of Austin around eviction mitigation. How much can we lean into work of our peers and create this environment of rising tide lifts all ships? I think one of the things that is still kind of outstanding and was flagged in the original 2021 resolution is an analysis of our existing partnerships. What can we reasonably expect to get out of partners that were engaged under old deal terms? And then in December, we plan to come back no later than with a comprehensive tenant bill of rights and implementation plan for how we would move forward into 2026. In April, we would come back to this body with an implementation report, and then in June, kind of a full briefing on the implementation progress for a tenant bill of rights. I feel like I've just been talking a lot for the last, I don't even know how long, but I am done talking, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to explore them with you.
I appreciate that. Thanks to all of the staff. I know it's kind of like we're seeing the tip of the iceberg here, and there's been a lot of paddling underwater and a lot of work being done, and really, really appreciate that. This is timely. We did call for it some time ago because of some hot water we were in, and never wanted to be in again. And because of the reflection of the profile of board members who joined the board due to tenant rights and tenant advocacy history and experience. And it's timely because of what's happening with Decker. I want to encourage each and every one of our directors here today to give some form of feedback. The staff have been looking at, written materials, but hearing a verbal expression of concern or value is really important to guiding the future work. So I know we're running a little over, but I really want to invite the directors at this time who wish to comment or to ask any further questions of staff to speak. Anybody interested in making comment? Yes, Director Dorman first.
Go ahead.
Her hand was
Okay,
first.
all right. So thank you very much. Obviously, a lot of work done and a lot to go, so thank you. So I'm interested in the time frame between now and December, where it's sort of the outreach, the stakeholder, the even more digging in. And this is to President Wenig's comment. How does the board get involved before we see a finished product, a recommended finished product? Do we have work sessions? Could we have just sort of some dedicated times along the way to say, oh, well, what about, because we have the macro, but we have the micro. And I took a look at that lease, and it's so specific. If I'm on the other side of the deal, if I'm the developer, I'm going to say to some of those things, I'm going to say, wow, this is a real cost to me. I will mitigate eviction, but I will not mitigate it like this says, because it's too much cost. And maybe that's where we come in with our housing production fund. But I just think I would like to see some opportunity for the board to really kind of roll up our sleeves together and with staff and one another, and kind of really look at this as it goes along. Not to put more work on anybody, but maybe to get a product that when it comes, we all go, yay.
Right, yeah. No, I feel like that's kind of more of a board decision in the sense that staff would welcome board input on this process, whether that be through individual or one-on-one feedback or a work group where we're kind of working more collaboratively. But I do think that is a discussion that the board would.
If I could check in with our executive director, is there a time frame in which you'd most welcome that kind of work session or that input, that
Can we go
collaboration?
back to the last
Yeah.
slide? So the board, the resolution asked us to come back to the board no later than December. You may recall that the last board meetings of the year are often full of board business and budget business, et cetera. And so I think we are hoping to wrap this work up a bit earlier, if we can. And so, the next couple of months, I think seeing what happens in the legislative session is really important, because there may be questions we don't need to ask ourselves because they apply to everyone. So I think this sort of July to October period will be important. I would echo Jim's impulse that, we are happy to work with the board to figure out a forum that works, but what was requested of us was that we go away and work with stakeholders to develop policy, to update you today and to come back by the end of the year. So we're very open to whether this is work done in a committee with board members, or if a broader work session is desired, or again, one-on-one.
Okay, so just to reframe, it sounds like the period of July to October would be instrumental in giving additional guidance after we've got the feedback from, or the reality from the legislator. And why don't we continue to dialogue about that? That's possibly a message forum item. If this is posted there, it could be contributed, comments could be contributed there.
If I could just offer one more thing, ideally like July through September.
Okay.
You know, as we're
Misunderstood.
talking
My
about
bad. Yeah.
developing the documents,
Sure.
I think October might be a little
Sure.
late.
Okay. Other comments or feedback that the directors would like to give at this point after hearing the presentation? Director Prince.
I'd like to talk about eviction mitigation and some of the things that can contribute to it, like management new policies that they implement. Like, I moved and lived in 5 different apartments in 5 years, so I have been at NRP properties, and my last property before I left, they implemented these outrageous parking policies. You have a property where there's one way in, one way out, no on-the-street parking. Most families live there, or families with children, 2 cars, but you give 1 parking pass per family, and then the other person has to go online and get a visitor's parking permit that only lasts 24 hours, and there's nowhere else to park. And if you don't renew it, you forget, then you get towed. So if you're getting towed 3-4 times a week, you're gonna get behind on rent.
Right.
You know, and there's nowhere else to park. You know, and then they implemented this, and there was no towing company, no signs up. So if I got towed and no one was at the office, I don't even know where my car is. There's one lone sign, the skinny driveway to come in, there's one little sign where most of the time there's somebody behind you. You can't stop right there and go, oh, here's the information. You know, but people constantly getting towed. You know, and it looks like other friends are having the same thing implemented. It just looks like that's something that's universal. All the apartments are, you know, implementing this craziness. You know, or policies like my friend at Rosemont, she had 2 money orders. She paid her rent, and they processed one of them before the due date of rent. Then they processed the other one the next day. So then she got late fees.
Right.
I mean, it's just stuff that management companies are implementing that, you know, contributes to, you know, these things.
Yeah.
You know, and 20% late fees and stuff add up, so you may come up with the rent, but the late fees kick you out to the curb. You know, stuff that's unreasonable, you know, stuff that we have no control over, these crazy fees and different things that they come up with, and they're all hidden. You know, you don't know until it comes up, you know, so you have no way to tread out, you know, of it, you know, and once you get to that, you know, you get to 3-day notice, your eviction, and, you know, your life is done, you know, so a lot of times, you know, the management policies and things that they come up with contribute to that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the kind of the broader environment of property management, and we talked a little bit earlier about vertically integrated developers and kind of the closed nature of, you know, the input into that type of a setting. I think that
By vertically integrated, we mean cases in which the
developer is also the
Yes.
property manager, and so they're under kind of the same parent company. And you know, property management, asset management, I think is a very important factor in tenant rights. I think one of the things that has been challenging for me to kind of wrap my mind around when I got to Strategic was how much control we actually have in the day-to-day operations of a project, which varies, but in general is pretty small. That said, I think there are some things that we might be able to implement when we're talking about eviction mitigations that create some opportunity to hold off from these types of unreasonable evictions or evictions that move quickly and don't give people the opportunity to mitigate or to correct the situation, or to even really ask for help, right? Like if you get a 3-day notice and you're working, you know, I think the issues there are obvious to me, and I hope that they would be obvious to property management companies. But I do think that there is room for strategic to develop in partnership with our peer agencies at Austin Housing Finance Corporation and HACA and their PFCs to develop some kind of minimum standards that we as a community can agree around are appropriate. For example, late fees should not be 20% of your rent. If you're $5 late on rent, that's ridiculous. So can we come to some kind of an agreement? And I think that's what we're hoping to develop some standardization here that folks can at least lean on to some extent. Does that?
Yeah, that helps. And also, with the culture that we have, there's going to be pushback.
Yes.
People that don't want to change, they want to stay stuck in what they're used to. So how will we deal with that?
Yeah, I think that is a really good question that I don't know that I have a great answer to right now. But I think that is something that was flagged in the initial analysis by strategic or SHFC staff in 2021 and 2022, in that for deals that are already partnership agreements already exist, how do we implement some of the things? And I think we're seeing that even in scenarios where the partnership agreements have already been signed and properties have been in operation for a couple of years, there is some room for reasonable discussion about, hey, can we talk for a second? What's going on here? Do you want to continue to do business with us? And if we can get our peers kind of on the same page with our peers, right? So I think that we need to have some larger community discussions to be able to collectively leverage against harmful practices in the industry, for sure. But there is I don't know that I have an easy answer for what we're going to do.
And I'm not sure that today at this stage of our meeting we're asking for immediate answers.
No.
But I do want to make sure that Director Prince feels like she's been heard, and maybe this can be looped into further feedback that we receive at another time. Doesn't have to be on the fly here. Were there other issues that you wanted to discuss?
Those are
The eviction
most
mitigation
important,
was
yes.
very much on your mind. Okay.
And sorry, if I could just add one more, I think eviction mitigation is a great place for us to start. Just kind of in the environment, it's a hot topic right now. I think that there's a lot of momentum behind changes there. So I would be happy to engage you more, Director Prince, in how we do this.
Okay.
Directors, any other comments or feedback on this item that has factored hugely in our history and probably in our future? And I know people are trying to be mindful of time, as am I. I do want to say that UT law students, I don't know if they're expecting to come back to us with more things. I don't know if we're going to get confusing.
Their semester is over.
They're over. We're done. Okay. So there's also bills about junk fees. Those are things that I just wanted to highlight about how do we leverage, what limited amount of leveraging powers we have, and getting more crystal clear about what those powers are and how to utilize them for anything we care about. But some of these are some of the things that we clearly care about under right to organize. Tenant organizing is normalized. I would just say not just normalized, but promoted and protected, so that we have a really sort of visible stance about these things as an entity in this sphere. The turnaround town on repair requests is something that we've historically been bogged down in. So I'm just, because of time, just hitting a couple tones here, just a couple notes, not asking for a response right now. I know that Director Huddleston was on earlier and she flagged for me that she wished to address this item, but I think she might have had to roll off. Is Director Huddleston still with us? If you are open to her written material on this, then I know for a fact that she had some items prepared for this. Okay, so back to your staff, I think, Ms. Gray, on the next item for our discussion today.
Excellent. The next, and if I'm not mistaken, final item on our agenda before adjournment today
Actually,
is...
there are going to be some new and unfinished business items.
Great.
Yes.
So item 6B is strategic outlook. You, as a bit of context, may recall that then President Altamirano shared a draft of a strategic outlook last fall. We had a lot on our plate in the ensuing months. We did not get to it at that time, but are now revisiting it, acknowledging that we would be adopting, should you choose to do so, a strategic outlook mid-year that would cover the rest of this year, and then we would have a discussion about when we would refresh that, et cetera. So next slide, please, Kevin. Thank you. So I think what is on the ensuing slides is almost verbatim what is in the proposed staff version of the strategic outlook. Staff did make some edits to the original version, and so you need not follow along in the document. I'd like to go through this, I think, very quickly. So first of all, what is a strategic outlook? Why do we need one, or how might we use it? I think importantly, a strategic outlook is not a strategic plan. It is less complex, fewer detailed goals, metrics, etc., but really helps us navigate our shorter term decision making. This is fitting for our organization. We have been in such a period of rapid growth, elected not last fall or this spring to engage in a deeper strategic planning process right now, but wanted to have something that acknowledged our surroundings and what we perceive as most relevant in the environment in which we're operating, and that would help us then identify some priorities, but also kind of what matters to us in our decision making. So the framework that was provided by Director Altamirano was a number of findings, so observations about us as an organization and the environment we are operating in, and then strategic actions that might follow from those collective findings. So if you can go to the next slide, Kevin. The first finding is that Travis County residents are rent burdened. So over half of renters in Travis County pay more than 30% of their gross income in rent, which is what the level that is generally considered to be affordable to them. Next slide. The second observation is that, and this is I think relevant to the conversation we've just had, that both the physical condition and property management practices that renters encounter in many affordable housing developments don't adequately support tenant well-being. The third finding, next slide, is that this is really about us as an organization. We are not funded through general revenue. We don't receive any funding from the county, and so we depend on our earned revenue to fund both our operations and right now any direct investment in affordable housing into projects themselves. Next slide, number 4. Is about our core powers. So in order to stimulate affordable housing, our core powers include the abatement of property and sales tax, principally property tax, which constitutes a subsidy for the deals that we enter into, and we can issue private activity bonds. While we we have the authority to invest direct capital into deals, we don't have a ton of it. We have about 15 million right now set aside for projects, and that's new, and has been really dependent on the performance of our portfolio. Our fifth finding is that there are many similar entities. At my last count, we're around 10 active HFCs, PFCs, or housing authorities within Travis County who have similar, if not identical, powers to us. And so that means that there is choice for our partners. Number 6, the next two are really about our market. So, as has been, I think, referenced earlier today, in the pandemic and sort of early post-pandemic era, Austin had incredible growth on top of historically high growth, such that in 2024, the community delivered almost 35,000 new multifamily units. That was a record high. Almost 30,000 projected to be delivered in 2025. Not all of that is affordable, but you can imagine that that level of supply has a significant impact on the market. It has resulted in rising vacancy rates, which we have seen in our own portfolio, and flat or decreasing rents, which of course aren't a bad thing for tenants, but is an overall indicator of what's happening in the market. In some cases, the restricted rents, so say the amount of rent that a unit that is restricted to 60% area median income is now above market. So used to be that was considered a lower end rent, but now the market has softened so that might actually need to charge below that to attract tenants. And the outlook, given where we are in terms of deliveries in 2026 and 2027, the market is expected to stabilize maybe sometime in 2026. Lots of predictions about that. We will see how it actually plays out. The next finding is really about the pendulum swing. So we had very, very hot market, a shock to the system really of a lot of units that's caused softening rents, which has resulted then in concern about the market and a diminished interest on the part of investors in deals in Austin and lenders in some cases. And so in 2024, when we're going to deliver, or we delivered 35,000 units, only about 7,500 units were actually started. And so knowing that these deals often take about 3 years to deliver, we expect that by 2027, we will sort of be back to the level of supply demand that we were at before the pandemic, which was effectively a shortage for renters and a market in which units are scarce, and if you don't have an affordable, capital A affordable unit, you'll have trouble getting a unit in the market. All right, so given those findings, what are the strategic actions that are recommended? I do want to make a note here that the strategic action number 1 is perhaps the most significant change to the original draft that staff has recommended. The original draft did talk about attempting to have in our portfolio a share of the overall multifamily market in the Travis County area. Staff is recommending instead that we really maximize the creation of or preservation of affordable housing, but that we do that taking into account not just the unit count, but the depth of affordability, the length of affordability, and the quality. This is sounding probably very familiar to some of you, as we've talked about developing a metric that looks at that. We have been working on that with Real Estate Committee and would expect, I think, to roll that out next month, hopefully at the same time you might be adopting this document. The second strategic action is that given that we are not taxpayer funded, we need to think about business strategies that meet our mission, but also provide some ongoing revenue for our operations. Number 3 is active. So if you can go actually 2 slides forward, please, Kevin. Number 3 is active portfolio management. In response to all the things we have talked about in terms of how the quality of our housing affects tenants, define what mission-driven portfolio management looks like for us. And as you heard earlier today, having done a baseline portfolio review which we reported on in January of this year, our main tasks for this calendar year are developing an effective portfolio data tracking and risk rating systems. Strategic action number 4. Next slide, please. Collaborate and differentiate. So we have many peers who are similar, We are happy to be working closely with them. We also want to distinguish ourselves in the field, both through the kind of work we do and the quality of work and the experience of working with us. Next slide. So number 5 is operational excellence. Along those lines, in order to be successful in all the strategic actions we're talking about, we need to acquire and nurture talent. Very happily have assembled a team to serve the mission in the first quarter of this year, select effective vendor partners, and also build the internal systems which allow us to deliver on all of the commitments that we make. I will pause there for discussion.
Thank you. Directors, do we have some comments and requests for clarification? And this is open to discussion now on this very important item for us, our strategy moving forward. Any particular, I know Director Dorman was not here for the inception of this document, which was first posted on our forum back in 2024, I believe. Anybody wish to comment?
Well, of course, I will have to comment. I did
Director
have
Dorman, you have the floor.
a sort of long conversation yesterday with Executive Director Gray, for which I'm appreciative. So I do feel I have some background and came away with a much better understanding of what this is designed to do. And I think the identified areas are really great and a good platform for what comes next. So thank you very much to everyone.
Okay. Director Altamirano.
I think this is ready to go. I think that it is a useful tool until the board decides it's ready to embark on a full-blown strategic plan, maybe at the end of this year, maybe at the end of next year. That will be a determination that we make, together based on the flow of things. I think this sets up a clear set of ways that we evaluate the things that we are doing. So when staff and XCOM feels we're ready, I don't have any substantive changes or additions. We had discussed making it more accessible using the Flesch-Kincaid reading scale to a 6th grade reading level. That is because, as all of you probably know, the typical American reads at a 6th grade reading level. Austin is unique in that it has a very high penetration of people with graduate degrees, but still it is considered to be nice to aim for the median level. I did rewrite this for a 6th grade reading level, so something that generates a Flesch-Kincaid 6th grade reading level score. It's modest changes. I'll circulate it to you staff as they try to figure out what the final should be. I don't know. We don't have a formal policy of all of our public-facing documents being at that green level because this one is so critical, and I would like to set a precedent as a former strategic plan writer. The strategic plan be accessible to normal people who do not know all the jargon. It's something for us to consider, but I leave it at the discretion of the staff because I think they've really rebranded this. My second comment, and this is something I believe in strongly. So some of you may be familiar with something called the Taylor Rule. The Taylor Rule was a rule that guided for a long time how the Federal Reserve Board thought about optimal interest rates. And so for a long time, there was no formal policy saying it's got to be 2%. It was more a set of heuristics about what it should be. And I do think that we need something that is the equivalent of a Taylor Rule for ourselves. And this goes back to the main substantive correction. We heard a presentation, and I wrote this down just very quickly, from the UT folks who did the work, and I'm really happy that they did this, and I'll remind you of some numbers. So of all the tax abatement, public-private partnerships that they counted across the different entities, there were 28,918 units. By my calculations, which are likely to be, accurate, but not exactly precise, fully precise. In Travis County, there's about 277,000 units. So that means the TEPs cover about 10%. In talking about market influence in the original strategic outlook, what we were trying to answer a question is, why does strategic HFC exist? We can all answer it differently, but a traditional policy answer is to solve the market failure of the market being unable to provide 60, 50 AMI units that are quality. The market will provide units. The market may provide some 60 AMI units, but they won't necessarily be nice or responsive. So in my view, strategic HFC exists to resolve this particular market failure. To do that, we need to be able to have enough market influence that we sort of set the bar and provide an option for anybody at that income level to not only, if they cannot be in our units, to discipline the other participants in the market around what they need to be able to be providing, so that if they need to leave, they can come to one of our units. It's very tricky to determine what share of the market needs to be at that number to effectively provide that guarantee. That guarantee that if you are at this income level, there will be a multifamily unit that is affordable to you, that is quality. But to save you a long speech, I think the number is closer to 20% than 10%. And if we look at our allocation and what's possible, so HACA, if you look at had their data, they had 67 units, which is 51% of the 28K. TCHFC had 27 projects, which is about 20%. We were at that when they did their snapshot at 19, 14%. Long story short is, I believe over the next 10 years, we kind of to be at a place where we can provide that mixed income guarantee, that 60-50 AMI guarantee through mixed income, which is really our specialization. We need to get to a portfolio of about 14,000 units. If you think about that every year, our net growth would be about 1,400. How many developments is that? We're talking about 5 per year, so we're voting on one every other month. So that's aggressive. Obviously, there's periods like last year where we, really ran up the score. There's periods kind of like this year, maybe next year, where the score is unrun. But the point of this is not to have a public-facing firm commitment, but rather a heuristic of how will we know we're at the place where we are meeting what at least one director believes is a guarantee. So my view is I will codify this as a little note to myself on the forum and refer to it as we have conversations, but it will not be official policy. But because I do think that the strategic outlook is compatible with this, I do want it in the record and in our minds as we make decisions, and hopefully it will inform the later strategic plan. One thing we may discover, which would be really nice, is that the point at which we can have market influence is much smaller, and or that some of our partners, like the TCHFCs and the HACAs or who knows, really grow their unit counts so that our participation is necessary. Perhaps the county will deem it responsible to pass a tax rate election to give more of their entities more powers to ensure even deeper affordability. So many directions, but I think this is the rigorous way to think about why we exist and what we're trying to solve in the market. One last thing. In the actions, our participation in maximizing production through that second sort of bullet of metrics means that there's going to be a need for us to be very rigorous and thoughtful about what we do with our housing production fund. Because this is going to be one of our special tools to, in a down market or when times are a little difficult, be opportunistic or, bolster supply or find a way to, in an economical basis, move our numbers in terms of penetration. And that's sort of subtle thing, and I provide this as feedback to staff. It does not need to be incorporated. But one thing to think about is to claim the mixed income specialization. I know that we want to keep doing low-income housing tax credits, but I do think of them in our overall portfolio as part of a broad mixed income number. And I think it's beneficial to say it is healthy for an HFC in Texas to have the 80s and the 100s along with the 30s and the 60s as a whole, because it's what helps us have scale. And finally, when I was thinking about all of this, I realized that if we are going to have market influence, it cannot just be in one or two sub-markets, which we have real concentration in. As we think about the HPF and just our terms, et cetera, I think we have to find a way to influence more different sub-markets. And that might have a tension with the cost effectiveness of the square footage we are financing, buying, whatever it may be. But it just feels it feels off for us to say we are solving a market failure in the county, but be so concentrated in certain geographies. There's something that's a little dissonant about that. It's not like we intentionally fell into it. It's not like we're, attempting to do that by policy. I do think we will need to be intentional about how we climb out of that, and hopefully some of these more reasonable land prices or distressed developments or whatever it may be that may be occurring in the glut moment with these peculiar financing and federal policies might give us an opportunity to do that. Maybe not. Maybe we'll have to find another solution. But getting a little bit of geographic deconcentration was not part of what I emphasized in the original draft, but it seems to be more important now that I kind of revisit this so many months later, particularly from the angle of we exist to solve a market failure. Part of that market failure is the market overproduces the 80s and the 100s in certain areas, which might not be, again, beneficial for overall tenant well-being. And with that, I conclude my comment, and I look forward to how the staff incorporates the feedback, but I'm ready to take action on the draft after you consider some of the feedback provided.
Thank you, Director Altamirano. Just a few clarifications I have for you, questions and clarifications. First off, I completely agree with you and was looking forward to this strategic outlook for some time in our onboarding. We've referenced it as the utility of a tool against which directors in our decision-making process can actually apply what's the content of this against a decision that we face. And that is sort of the aspirational goal of how that this tool could be translate our values into actually goals and measures that we can discuss in a really rigorous way during our deliberations. So to that extent, I agree with two things you said. One is might need to translate it to slightly more digestible language or something that we could possibly just quickly compare and contrast with what we're deliberating. That's a high bar. It's not easy to translate these kinds of concepts into that, and I grasp that, but I also share your interest in achieving that at someday. Secondly, Director Altamirano, on the mixed income specialty that we are making a mark on, a mark of some kind.
We're trying.
I haven't said how big a mark
is not letting us.
or how heavy it is. Do you want that explicitly addressed in this strategy? I'm curious as to why you would choose not to have that explicitly addressed.
So as you know, Madam President, there was a time way back when where we wanted to be like the leading social housing
Yes,
developer
yes.
in the greatest state in the union. And we've kind of navigated beyond that as we've kind of brought in new people and kind of are trying to figure out how to say. Are you saying why I don't want it or why I do want it?
Either side.
Okay.
The case for or against.
I kind of am like, to save time today, I'm saying, because I don't know where, I don't want to take up a lot of time. I don't know where staff is at in terms of saying, yeah, we cut TCHFC. Hey, we really want to get good at this mixed income stuff. We feel comfortable being in workforce land and some more different arrangements than just traditional light tech. We really want to get good at this because if we plant that flag, then we can't unplant it. If we are maybe saying, no, we're going to be the leading light tech, or we're not ready to say, I'm sort of putting this in the staff to tell us kind of where they are at in that discussion. The value of us saying we want to be good at mixed income is, depending on what the legislature does, we have already started thinking about things like the proportion of the public benefit coming from the rents, how that trades off with, say, what our former home does deals for, which is income for another different set of operations. And so then you have to think about a certain level of scale, which in turn, if you want to do a good job, means you've got to have a certain kind of team. Where does that team go? And then how can you attract that team if you're in the county's bureaucracy? Blah, blah, so it starts to kind of have a cascading effect on our organizational form and culture if indeed we want to be good at it at scale. And I don't think we have I don't want to force that on us if we're not there yet, because it might have implications. We can leave it open-ended as the current outlook is, but I do believe it's an important differentiation that we might want to be first out of the gate with in a post-HB 21 world.
And with that, I'll just encourage you to the extent it's plausible, to put some of that on the discussion forum. So this, particularly the absent directors, can also benefit from that angle and that perspective and that possible inclusion in this document, because I think we're at a choice point here, and it would be interesting to see which way staff does feel whether it's appropriate and timely, and we have the capacity to go to state that explicitly in a strategic outlook. Any other comments or discussion of this among the directors? And I just want to thank everybody for sticking with us on this long meeting today. I think that concludes our discussion of item number 6, and moving forward to item number 7. I want to first just deal with some half-finished business from this very meeting where I rushed through the consent agenda with only a motion to adopt and no second. And I'm going to ask Ms. Honeycutt to get this straight in the record, even though I slipped in the moment. We had Director Altamirano as a motion to adopt, and who is the second? Director Prince. And if that'll be reflected in the minutes, I've fixed up my mistake there. And we did have a potential new business item to be mentioned today. Director Altamirano, I had that in correspondence from Director Huddleston.
Oh,
yourself.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, Director Huddleston is interested in having a policy discussion with staff around setting a staffing policy for development. So minimum expected staffing at our deal, so that if you recall at our previous meeting she had a question about staffing, just being able to have a policy that we communicate to our potential partners. You check, you come, you present, and you're like, that's on the list, it's done, or it's not, they can't commit to it, and here are the reasons to it.
To being here when, I'm not sure I understand the scope.
So for a building, a development, we'll have a property management and maintenance staff that's determined based on how many units and/or
Okay.
tenants. And so just having a formal perspective on what that number of people should be, so that when deals are coming through, we ask on the front end, so that by the time you come and present, you can say conforms to policy and/or does not conform to policy because explanation. It's sort of just another part of our checklist. It may be part of our terms depending on your recommendations. And so what I thought would be useful is for us to, in rec, share her proposal and analysis. She's done the homework, and obviously is very experienced in this field, and for staff to provide feedback about the kind of sequence they would want to see, both process-wise and substantive-wise, and how we adopt it. It's a, go ahead, Director.
Oh, just a clarification. Thank you. Director Altamirano, the best communication channel you want to use to get that would be through the rec committee, or do you want it on the forum? Would you like it to be sent to Director Gray? How would you?
So since I believe the three of us that have discussed it are on the real
rec.
estate committee.
Yeah.
And it is in the purview of the committee. I was thinking I would just forward you, if staff is ready to engage, the material so that we could begin a
Perfect.
discussion online.
Yes, sir.
And then at the appropriate time, we can bop it out to the whole forum.
Perfect.
But I think it will be very straightforward.
Yes, and there is like an exquisite amount of detail in Director Huddleston's proposal, so I think it'll be easy to respond to. That concludes our new and unfinished business. Is there any other items that directors wish to discuss and or act on today? Hearing none, it is at this moment 1:16 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.